So we will look at move zeros, and the question is, given an integer array nums, move all zeros to the end of it while maintaining the relative order of the non-zero elements. Note that you must do this in place without making a copy of the array. And here we have an example. If we have this array which is 0, 1, 0, 3, 12, what we would do is we would move these zeros to the end of the array. And then the modified array would be 1, 3, 12, 0, and 0. And here what we also have to do is we also have to preserve the order that these non-zero elements appear in. So we have 1, 3, and 12, and we preserve this order, and we also have 1, 3, and 12. And then we have zeros at the end. And we also have to do this without making a new copy of the array. So we would be doing this in place. So we would have our index. So for that we would do I equals 0, and then we will have the length, which would be length nums, and then we will have while length. Here what we will do is we will have two separate if statements. The first if statement will check if the number is 0. If the number is 0, what we will do is we will pop that number. We will pop 0 from that index and then append it to the end. And when we do this, what will happen is the elements in the array will shift to the left. So as you can see that after we pop and append the 0, this will become 0, 5, 7, 8, and 0. And this is where we will have the second if statement. And that second if statement will check if the number is not 0. If the number is not 0, only then we will increment the index. Because if you don't do that, and let's suppose that if you were to pop and append 0 and we also incremented the index at the same time, what would happen is I would become 1. So we would remove it, we would pop 0 and append it to the end, and we would increment I. Then I1 would be 5, which is this right here. And what would happen is we would miss this 0 that we also meant to add to the end of the array, but we would miss out on this. So for that, we create the second if statement that would check if the number is not 0. Only then we would increment the index. So here we will do if nums I is 0, that if the number is 0, then we will remove that 0 from that index. And then we will do nums dot append, and then we will append 0 to the end of the array. And if the number is not 0, then we will do I equals I plus 1, and this will increment the index so we can then move to the next element. And here we will do length equals length minus 1, and this will decrement the length so we can then bring the while loop to a finishing. And this looks good, and this also looks good. So for time and space complexity, uh, for time complexity we are looking at on. The reason is because we are only traversing through as many elements as there are in the nums array. We're not traversing any more or any less. And in terms of space complexity, we're not allocating any more any additional space. And since we are doing this, what's known as in place. So for in place, the space complexity is O1.